Nobody is ever ready. I want you to really hear that. Not as a motivational line, not as something to put on a poster. As a fact, nobody, not the person you look up to, not the person whose results you want, not the person who built the thing you wish you had built. Nobody was ready when they started. They started anyway. And the starting is what made them ready. That's the whole secret. And it's hiding in plain sight. But most people never act on it because it goes against everything we were taught about how things are supposed to work. We were taught to prepare, to study, to wait until we have enough information, enough skill, enough confidence, enough resources. We were taught that starting too early is reckless, that you need to have it figured out before you begin, that the responsible thing to do is wait until the conditions are right. But here's what nobody tells you about waiting until you're ready. Ready never comes. Think about something you've been putting off, something you've been meaning to start, a business, a skill, a change, something you've been carrying around in your head for months, maybe years, telling yourself you'll start when the time is right, when you have more money, when things slow down, when you feel more confident, when you know more. How long have you been waiting? Because here's what actually happens when you wait for ready. The goal stays the same size in your head, but your belief that you can reach it slowly shrinks. Every day you don't start is a day your brain files away as evidence that you're not doing it. And over time, that evidence builds into a story. The story that you're the kind of person who thinks about things but doesn't do them. The story that this particular dream is just not meant for you. The story that you would have started by now if you were serious about it. And the longer you wait, the louder that story gets. Until one day you barely remember why you wanted it in the first place. That's what waiting costs. Not just time, the dream itself. Here's the thing about readiness that nobody explains. Readiness is not a state you arrive at before you begin. It's a state you build by beginning. The skills you think you need before you start, you can only get them by starting. The confidence you think you need before you begin, it doesn't come from preparation. It comes from doing the thing and surviving it. From making mistakes and learning from them. From being bad at something and getting better because you kept going. You cannot think your way to ready. You cannot plan your way to ready. You cannot research your way to ready. The only path to ready runs straight through the middle of not ready yet. Every person who is good at something right now was once terrible at it. Every business that is running smoothly right now was once a mess. Every person who looks confident and prepared from the outside was once terrified and winging it on the inside. The difference between them and the people who never got there isn't talent. It isn't resources. It isn't timing. It's that they started anyway. Let's talk about what not ready actually looks like in real life. Because I think people have a distorted picture of what they're waiting for. Not ready looks like launching something before you know if it's going to work. Not ready looks like putting something out into the world knowing it's not perfect. Not ready looks like making decisions without having all the information. Not ready looks like being scared and doing it anyway. Not ready looks like figuring it out as you go instead of having it figured out before you go. And here's the thing, that is exactly what starting looks like. For everyone. Always. There is no version of starting that doesn't feel like not ready. Because if it felt completely comfortable and safe and certain, you would have done it already. The discomfort you feel before you start isn't a warning sign. It's just what the edge of your comfort zone feels like. And everything you want is on the other side of that edge. The people who are further along than you aren't people who found a way to start without that feeling. They're people who felt it and started anyway. That's the only difference. Now I want to address the most common reason people give for not starting. And it sounds reasonable. It sounds responsible. It sounds like wisdom. I just need a little more time to prepare. And look, preparation has its place. I'm not telling you to jump into something completely blind with zero thought or planning. But there is a version of preparation that is just procrastination with better branding. And most people who say they're preparing are actually just avoiding the discomfort of beginning. Here's how you know the difference. Preparation moves you closer to starting. Every day you spend preparing should leave you one step closer to the moment you actually begin. If you've been preparing for 6 months and you're not closer to starting than you were on day one, you're not preparing. You're hiding. And what you're hiding from is the possibility of failure. The possibility that you'll put yourself out there and it won't work. The possibility that people will see you try and watch you struggle. But here's the truth about failure that most people spend their whole lives running from. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of the path to it. Every failure teaches you something that no amount of preparation ever could. Every mistake made in motion is worth more than a year of planning from standstill. And the person who starts, fails, adjusts, and keeps going will always end up further than the person who waited until they had it all figured out. You don't figure it out and then start. You start and then figure it out. I also want to talk about the version of not ready that is the hardest to push through. And that's when other people can see you. Starting something in private is one thing. But most things worth building eventually require you to put something out into the world where other people can see it. And that's where most people stop. Not because they don't believe in what they're building, but because they're afraid of what it looks like to be a beginner in public. What if it's not good enough? What if people judge it? What if someone I know sees it and thinks less of me for trying? What if I put it out there and nobody cares? Those fears are real. I'm not going to tell you they're not, but I want you to think about something. The people whose opinions you're most worried about, what are they building right now? What are they putting out into the world? What are they trying that could fail publicly? Most of the time, the answer is nothing. And people who are building nothing have nothing useful to say about people who are building something. Their opinion of your beginning is not information. It's just noise from the sideline. The only people whose feedback actually matters are the ones who are in the arena with you. Everyone else is just watching. Start anyway. Let them watch. So here's where I want to leave you. And I'm going to be honest with you because that's the whole point of this channel. Everything I just said is true. Starting before you're ready is the only way to start. Preparation without action is just procrastination. The discomfort you feel is not a stop sign. All of it is true, but I can't make you want it. I can give you every reason to start. I can break down every excuse. I can show you exactly what's on the other side of beginning. But at the end of the day, none of that matters if you don't want it bad enough to move through the discomfort. None of it matters if the dream isn't pulling you harder than the fear is holding you back. And if you're still not starting, I'm not going to tell you that you're lazy or that you don't have what it takes. I'm going to tell you something more honest than that. You just don't want it bad enough yet. And that's okay. That's not an insult. That's just where you are right now. Maybe the timing isn't right. Maybe the thing you think you want isn't actually what you want. Maybe you need more time to get uncomfortable enough with where you are that the discomfort of starting feels smaller than the discomfort of staying. But if you do want it, if there's something inside you that genuinely wants the thing you keep putting off, then you already have everything you need to begin. Not to finish, not to succeed, just to begin. And beginning is all that's required right now. You don't need to be ready. You just need to start. Sit with that.